Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the shop. Today is Sunday, April 13th, and it is shaping up to be a very nice Sunday here in southeastern Pennsylvania. Going to get into the mid to high 50s today, and no rain for a change, 'cause it's been raining nonstop for like the past 5 days. Got an ephemeral pond in my backyard and everything, so that's just been fantastic. I get so much work to do out in the yard, and the rain has not helped, and now the fact that I've got to navigate the ephemeral pond is just making getting those chores done wonderful. But that's okay. So I got my Sassini 4 dot. Thank you, Doug Owen. Love this pipe, and it's filled with some haunted bookshop this morning because it felt good. It's familiar. And I also have some coffee. Not 8 o'clock coffee, actually. 8 o'clock got me mad. They basically got rid of their 50-50 decaf blend, and didn't tell me. Anyway, that's a long tangential story, but I'm drinking that Costco coffee that begins with an M, and I don't remember the name of it. Comes in a yellow bag. Uh, it's okay. Okay, it's not 8 o'clock, but it's not terrible. So life goes on. So today I'm going to talk about stuff. It's somewhat related to last week's video. It's somewhat related to an email that I got from someone that was pointing out what they thought was an error, and well, not really pointing out an error, but they respectfully disagreed with me on a point. I'll get into that. It is going to be some religious talk, but I'm not going to be preachy. I try to never be preachy. It's not my job to convert you. It's just my job to talk about things that interest me and hopefully inform you and maybe entertain you. And if you're not interested in what I'm going to talk about, go watch something else. And I hope you come back next week when I'll talk about something completely different. Um, but yeah, whatever interests me is what I talk about. And today, this is interesting me. Um, Today is Palm Sunday, so very happy Palm Sunday to all of you, and to all of you that celebrate Palm Sunday, and wish you all the best for a blessed Holy Week as we begin that process. Uh, to those of you who are my Jewish friends, Passover has begun, and because of that, you're probably not watching this. But if you catch it later, I hope you had a very, very blessed Passover. And we'll talk about those things and how they connect. And I think there's some really, really interesting stuff here. So I love Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is probably so Easter is the highlight of the liturgical calendar for Christians, and should be. Um, it's funny, most secular folk would say, "Oh, Christmas is good." No, no, Christmas is good, but Easter's the big one. But Palm Sunday is really important, and I remember learning in high school. So I had the benefit of 12 years of Catholic schooling. So I went through 8 years of grade school and then 4 years high school. And, every year you took a religion class. And then once you got into high school, there were some extra religion classes you could take, and, getting deeper into theology and things like that. And I loved it because I don't know, I'm just a geek in that way. I just like understanding the logic behind things, and connecting the pieces and all that. And this was sort of a watershed moment for me because I understood. I think it was the first time, again, I'm in high school. I think it was the first time I really understood the connection between the Old and New Testament, and the sort of foreshadowing in the Old Testament that is um, made, um, I'm blanking on the word, that comes to fruition in the New Testament. Yeah, that works. And that happens a lot, but this is one example, and it's really a stunning example. So Palm Sunday, what are we remembering on Palm Sunday? What are we celebrating? So it's the triumphant entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. You know, he comes in riding on the back of a donkey, and the people greet him, waving palms and you know, treating him like he's a conquering king entering the city. And you know, the way I thought about that as a child, and it's pretty much the way it was taught to me as a child, was, you know, that here he is, everybody loves him, they're all waving the palms and everything's great, and 5 days later they kill him. And you know, so it just shows you how we as human beings can be fickle, and you know, we don't really understand things. There's all sorts of things you can talk about there, but that's wrong, because what that's doing is that's sort of placing the blame for the death of Christ on the people, which is not really accurate. Um, he had to die, right? He is the sacrifice that makes up for the fall of man, from Adam's first sin, and all the sins since then. So yes, in part we are responsible for that because we've sinned, but it's not like we plotted for it or we turned our back or anything like that. Well, I guess we did in sin, but not in the moment. You know, and I think it's really important because you do not want to be thinking about this as a historical event where a group of people decided to do this. It's that it had to happen. It had to happen. It was a preordained sacrifice. But this is where it gets really interesting to make the comparison between Palm Sunday and Passover. So the entry into Jerusalem, it parallels, and the sacrifice parallels the Passover. So here we have the Lamb of God, the unblemished Lamb, the perfect sacrifice of Jesus, who is sacrificed, and his blood saves us, provides us with salvation. In the Old Testament, you have the unblemished male lamb that is slaughtered, and the blood of the lamb is put on the doorpost to protect the Israelites from the Passover event, from the angel of death coming. This is during the plagues against the Pharaoh. So it's the same story. You know, it's the same thing. You've got a lamb. The lamb has to be pure. The lamb is inspected by the high priests and in order to ensure its purity. And then it is sacrificed, and the blood of that sacrifice saves the people. It's the same story. It's just in one case the lamb is an actual lamb, and in the other case the lamb is a uh, figurative lamb, the Lamb of God. So that when that clicked for me, I was like, wow, this this stuff makes this isn't just stories, but this stuff makes sense. You know, this goes together somehow. That's really cool. Not preaching here, just telling what I think is an interesting story about my faith. So, yeah, that why am I talking about that? Well, that gets into to Palm Sunday and what most people think about with Palm Sunday. And people joked about it on the Friday live stream this week. It's a common joke. Catholics make the joke all the time. It's like giveaway day at the ballpark. You know the church is going to be full because you're getting something. You're getting a piece of palm. So what is that all about? Well, I don't know the full deep history of this. I don't know who was the first person to say, let's have some palm at church on Palm Sunday. But, you know, the idea is basically that you're sort of reenacting that event. You know, the, the priest enters in persona Christi, as we say, in the person of Christ, and the people are holding the palm, sort of symbolizing that welcoming of Christ into the temple, into Jerusalem, in this case, into the church. As the priest processes into the church. It's just sort of a figurative way of remembering that event. And the palms are blessed, so they're treated with a degree of reverence because they're blessed. And then we take them home, and I forever did the same thing. So we have crucifixes in the house because that's what Catholics do. And you would hang the palm over the crucifix. You'd bend it a little bit so that it would hang there. And you'd leave it there until the following year, in which case some churches, I don't know if any churches still do it, but it used to be quite common that you would take the palm prior to Ash Wednesday and return it, and it would be burned to make the ashes that you would get on your forehead on Ash Wednesday. Nowadays, I mostly will just burn it or cut it up and put it in the soil, something like that, because it's blessed. So you treat it with a degree of reverence. You don't just throw it away. But it's not magic, and this is important. This is kind of the theme that I wanted to talk about. It's a sacramental. Okay, that's the technical term for it is it's a sacramental. It's not a sacrament. Those two things are very different, and in fact, not really even related in many senses. A sacramental is something that helps us focus, helps us remember, uh, maybe increases our devotion, but it's not magic. It's not like if I'm holding that palm, something good's going to happen, or it's my lucky palm. It's not that at all. And there's many examples of this, and in Catholicism, and maybe in other denominations. I don't know about this. How I think a lot of Christian, non-Catholic Christians um, do not like the idea of sacramentals because they believe that it is actually taking away from the devotion to Christ. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I don't think that's the case, and obviously, because that's the tradition that I grew up in. But in any case where a sacramental is used, it never distracts me from Christ. I mean, Christ is the center of my faith, and nothing changes that, no matter what prayer I'm saying, no matter what sacramental I might have. Um, but let's not get into that. Let's talk about sacramentals themselves. And the reason is I got an email after last week's video where someone was saying, what you were saying about the tobacco is not exactly true because, you could view it in the same way that you view a sacramental. So something like that palm that reminds me throughout the year of Palm Sunday and the sacrifice of Christ and the promise of the resurrection just reminds me of that. It doesn't magically make things happen. It's just a reminder. Just as that is there reminding me of that, something like the Crowley named tobacco, could be pushing me in the other direction. And I get the point. I take the point, but I disagree with it because it's not. You can't have a negative sacramental. It just doesn't work that way because for it to work that way, you would have to be wanting to focus on that thing in the first place, right? The piece of palm does not make me think about the sufferings of Jesus and the resurrection. It doesn't in any way force that upon me. It's something that if I choose to take advantage of, it's there. Likewise, having a tin of tobacco that's named after Crowley doesn't in any way make me honor Crowley or make me, think about uh, Satan or any of those things, unless I choose to. And I don't, so I think it's perfectly safe to, have it around. So I don't think you can have a negative sacramental. You can only have a sacramental for something that you want to be a part of or want to invest your faith in. And yeah, I think that's just the way it is. I don't think it's possible for it to go in the other direction. So let me give you some examples here, and we'll ultimately get to this all tying up, I promise. So probably most famous, the Rosary, and a lot of people misunderstand the Rosary. It's a sacramental. It's a string of beads. It's a timing device. It's a meditative way of keeping track and counting. So you're saying prayers as you pray the rosary, and each bead represents a prayer. When you finish one bead, you move to the next bead and you restart the prayer. So you say the prayer 10 times. While you're doing this, you're meditating on the scripture. Okay, so it's this very, and if you haven't done it, it's hard to explain, but it's this process where the prayer itself is going in the back of your mind, almost like a timer. But I don't want to, it's not like counting, it's actually a prayer. And the prayer is important because the prayer is also scriptural. But it's sort of the carrier wave for the meditation. The meditation is on a particular part of scripture. So when the rosary is prayed, we think about what we call the mysteries. There's joyful, sorrowful, and glorious mysteries. And now there's an additional set that modern Catholics use that luminous mysteries, which I don't pray because I'm old-fashioned. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but I just choose to not use them. So for this, when Good Friday comes, I will spend a lot of time on Good Friday praying the sorrowful mysteries, and these are things like the agony in the garden, the scourging at the pillar, the crucifixion. These are bad, not bad, I shouldn't say bad, but sorrowful things that happened in the life of Christ. So it's very scriptural. Why do I need that string of beads? Because I don't want to get, I want to get through all the mysteries. I want to spend time on each one, and I want to go through them all. And I want to stay in a state of prayer as I'm doing that. So it's just a way of keeping me in that state of prayer as I'm meditating on those scriptural passages. And do I need that string of beads? No, I've got 10 fingers and I've used them. I could take a shoelace and tie 10 knots in it. I could get 10 coconuts. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of being able to have something that's keeping that number for me so I don't have to be thinking number 2, number 3, number 4. It's a sacramental. It might have a crucifix hanging from it. It may have a medal of a saint. It might have, it very often will be blessed. So you treat it with reverence, but it's not magic. Having that doesn't do anything for you other than help you stay focused. And another example, so I have this lighter that was actually a gift from my friend Ben, the Artful Codger. Now I know this is from some movie that Ben liked. I don't actually know the story there. I know that this is the Medal of Saint Benedict, and I'm not using this lighter now because it's Lent, so I'm using my uh, memento. I don't know if you can see that because it's very dim. There we go. Tempus fugit memento mori. Time flies, remember death. It's a way of focusing on the practice of memento mori. Remember that you are going to die. When on Ash Wednesday, when the ashes are put on our heads, the priest says something to the effect of, "Remember, man, that you are dust, and dust you shall return." You're going to die someday, and you better keep that in mind as you go through your life, because every moment might be your last. That's a sacramental. Okay, this one is not blessed or anything, but it helps me think and stay focused in my faith. This likewise is a sacramental. It's a medal that was popularized by Benedict, or at least the Benedictine monks that after Benedict's death. And I don't know if you can actually see the letters there, but the large CSPB, and my Latin is terrible, so forgive me. That means Crux Sancti Patre Benedicti, which is the Holy Cross of Father Benedict. It's just identifying it. Nothing magical about it. And then in the cross, you can see CS. I can't actually read them as I'm looking at the monitor, but the Latin words are Crux Sancti Sit Mihi Lux, coming down the cross, and then across it's Nunquam Draco Sit Mihi Dux. What that means is, may the Holy Cross be my light. Never let the serpent be my guide. It's a prayer. May the Holy Cross be my light. Never let Satan be my guide. Is it magic to have this? Does holding this make me not no. But having this in my hand and looking at it makes me think, oh yes, I want the cross to be my guide. I do not want to let the temptations of Satan guide me. That's it. That's the whole point of a sacramental. Why am I babbling on about this? Sacramentals are things that I keep around me and that many Catholics keep around them, and probably Christians do as well, as that, although they don't think about it in the same way. But if you have a cross, that's a sacramental. If you wear a cross, or if you have a cross in your house, or even if you have a painting or an inspirational quote, it serves the same purpose. Um, so I said last week that I would not put a statue of the Buddha in my house, although I respect Buddhists and I respect their beliefs, and I find many of them very interesting. But I wouldn't have a statue of the Buddha in my house because I think that that's implying a reverence that I would not want to take away from what I revere, which is Jesus Christ. So, does that mean I shouldn't have a particular tobacco in my house? Well, it depends. If I'm prone to revere things like that, you know, so should I have I don't know. I'm trying to think of another example. Okay. Should I have a copy of Playboy magazine in my house? Uh, it depends on who I am, right? I personally would not have that. Why? Because I believe that it represents a temptation. Okay. I don't want to look at women as sexual objects. I want to look at women as children of God, as my sister in Christ. And it's very hard to do that when they're presented to me in the way that magazine presents them to me. But the truth is, it's very hard for me to do that when I look at commercial television and I see the way that women are presented in advertising and things like that. So, do I not have a television in my house? Well, I've got a television in my house. But, if I'm being 100% consistent, I wouldn't. Likewise, would I have a pentagram in my house? No, of course not. You know, why? Because again, it's me. It's suggesting a reverence to that object that I do not have and that I do not want to have, just like the Buddha statue. Would I have a copy of a Buddhist text, one of the sutras, in my house? Yes, I do. I actually do. Would I have a copy of the Quran in my house? Sure, I don't, but I would have no problem with that. Would I have a copy of some satanic text? I don't know if they have text, but let's just say they do. Um, if I was interested in it for comparative religious studies, if I thought there was some value in it that I could, learn about how those beliefs might in some way connect to my beliefs, or if there was some commonality in their beliefs versus other religion beliefs. If I was doing it for study purposes, I guess, sure, there's nothing magic about it. But that is different than having a pentagram hanging on the wall. I hope this is making sense. So there's things that you choose to be reverent about. There's things that have external implications in terms of that reverence. You put a crucifix on your wall, people are going to know that you are Christian. If you put a Buddha statue in your house, people are going to assume that you are a Buddhist. So, and if you hang a pentagram on your wall, I think you see where this is going. But the books on your bookshelf don't necessarily define your faith. Likewise, your choice of lighters or tobacco or anything else don't necessarily define your faith unless you want it to. Now, here's the last part that I just want to tie this together in something that I think is interesting to me. Would I take those things into a church? And the answer is different. The reason being, so would I take, well, these lighters, if they're in my pocket, fine. Would I proudly display them in a church? No, because I wouldn't proudly display anything in a church. I'm not there to display things. But if I have them on my person, I don't think there's any problem with that. Would I take a copy of Playboy into the church? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Would I take a copy of a Buddhist sutra into the church? Absolutely not. Why? Why is it different? Why can I have it in my house but not in the church? This is the difference between a sacramental and a sacrament. So there are sacraments, which are the technical definition of sacrament is a sign instituted by Christ to give grace. So these are things like the sacrament of confession, where we can receive absolution for sins, or the sacrament of baptism, where we're baptized into the faith, or in the Catholic tradition, the sacrament of the Eucharist, where we believe that God is present, fully present in the host. And that host is kept in the church. So the sacramental, the true presence of God in a sacramental sense is there in that building, in that room. And I cannot do anything that would in any way, first off, take away from that, draw attention to me instead of that. But secondly, in any way offend. And I think those things would be offensive to God. It would be sacrilege to do that. So would I take I can't quite reach it, but I've got the tin of the beast over there. Would I take that tin of tobacco into the church? No, I actually would not. Okay, so there is a line that I think you need to be cognizant of and you don't cross in these things. But it's not like sacramentals can enhance my faith. They can increase my devotion. They can bring me closer to God, not through magic, but through guiding my thoughts, guiding my focus, guiding my attention, and enhancing my faith in that way. Other things, it's what I choose to do with them. There's no magic, good or bad. We want there to be magic. We so badly want there to be magic. We so badly want to be able to hold that piece of palm this Sunday and have it change our lives. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. All that we have, so we have faith and we have miracles. And faith can allow us to hope for miracles, but miracles can only come from God. There's nothing we can do to create a miracle. We cannot manipulate the universe in the way that God can. He can move outside of physical law. We are bound by physical law. There is no magic. So, there you have it. Don't instill objects with more power than they deserve. That's the bottom line. Well, I hope that was at least a little bit interesting. Because again, it interests me. It's something I wanted to get off my chest. And that's what this channel's all about. So if you didn't want to watch this, hopefully you've already gone off and watched something else. And if if you watched it and you thought, geez, I wish I hadn't watched that, there'll be something different to watch next week. No, there won't. I lie. There will not be a show next week because it'll be Easter. There will also not be a live stream next Friday because it's Good Friday. I'll try to put a post up later in the week about that because I forgot to say it at the beginning of this, and I forgot to say it at the beginning of the live stream as well. But you folks that have been following me long enough know that I always skip Good Friday and Easter Sunday for my live stream and Sunday video. So you will not see me next week. So that'll give you a full 2 weeks to recover from this mess that I just made. And I will be back the week after Easter, which I believe is the last week, the last Sunday in April. I think. It's still a Sunday in April, that's all that matters, where I will be talking about the tobacco of the month and giving you my impressions of that. So with that, my friends, I'm going to wrap up this long, rambly commentary that I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it, or if you wished I just wouldn't have made this video. Anyway, happy Palm Sunday, have a fantastic Holy Week, and a blessed Easter. Blessed Passover to all yous that are celebrating that. A good week to all yous that are doing whatever else might be done in the coming week. And with that, I will call this to a close. So until we speak again, I will look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Goodbye now.